da equipe de transmissão. Olá, boa tarde. Estamos de volta com
Good afternoon, and we are back with the last panel of our Techno in 2023. And to begin the day, I would like to give the floor to Jean-Baptiste. Jean-Baptiste, you have the floor. Thank you very much, and good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to all to the fourth and last panel of the second International Symposium in Intelligence Technology. This panel will approach the challenges of Society 5.0. Therefore, we would like to thank our speakers and to all of you have dedicated this space to participate. This panel is going to last 1 hour. Each one of our 3 speakers has 15 minutes to talk. Therefore, we will have 15-minute period to talk and to debate. And who is going to be the mediator right now is Mr. Alexandre Piana. Mr. Alexandre, I don't know if I'm pronouncing correctly your name, Piana. Piani, yes, you're pronouncing correctly my name. I am struggling with my Portuguese for the time being. Okay, so welcome to everyone. And Alexandre Piano he's a diplomat, he's an attaché since 2003. Between 2015 and 2019, he has worked in Brasilia in different divisions of the South American Department and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And abroad, he was responsible for the educational sector of the permanent delegation of Brazil together with UNESCO in Paris. This is from 2019 to 2023 before being assigned as the General Counsel in the General Council of Brazil in Toronto in February of 2023. He is responsible for the cultural and the science, technology, and innovation department. Therefore, he has great experience and he can help us to mediate this panel. So, Mr. Alexandre, you do have the floor. Thank you, Jean-Baptiste. I speak French. I speak a little bit of French. Oh, that's right. You lived in Paris. Yes. Yeah, of course. That is what yeah, of course. I know I've read your curriculum. You speak French. Thank you very much. You have the floor.
I'm based in Toronto, so I'm going to speak English. I think it's more people watching us that speak English. Anyway, as Jean-Baptiste said, I'm the Deputy Consul General of Brazil in Toronto. And I wanted to thank once more the organizers for inviting me for this symposium. And especially for today's panel about the challenges of society 5.0. I wouldn't like to talk too much right now because I really want to listen to our panelists and then we can maybe exchange some ideas. Let me just briefly present 3 speakers and then I'm going to give them the word. We have our first speaker, Mr. Miterson Maia. He's a PhD in communication and a professor and entrepreneur and founder of Preemptor AI Canada. We also have with us today Mr. Kelly Park and from the Schulich School of Business. I don't know if I pronounce it correctly, Schulich, but anyway, very interesting curriculum. He worked as a consultant in designing several creative strategies, advising groups and different groups in government, ranging from NFL to Canadian healthcare system. Pretty interesting. And finally, we're going to have with us today from PUC, São Paulo, Mr. Arnoldo de Hoyos, who holds a graduation in chemical engineering mathematics from University of Nuevo León, Mexico, and also a PhD statistic from University of Berkeley, California. And without longer further ado, would like to pass the word to Mr. Mitterson Maya. Mr. Mitterson, please, you have the floor.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Alexandre, for introducing me. I'm also Brazilian. I'm from São Paulo. I'm PhD from University of São Paulo. I was part of the TGS long time ago with Lúcia Santaella, with Dora. And this is an amazing, amazing department that does an amazing work on artificial intelligence and try to understand the new technology in these days, right? Here at Toronto, I'm also a professor at Humber College and also a researcher. Now I'm currently applied researcher at Humber College. So when Alceli invited me to be part of this panel, which the title is Challenges of Society 5.0, I got impressed with this proposal of Society 5.0. I'm researching artificial intelligence long time ago, but this is a new topic on Society 5.0, and I will address my presentation today based on a book called Society 5.0, A People-Centric Super Smart Society. That's the book. You can find easily this book on Springer, the platform. It's for free. You can have open access to it. And it describes this proposal on the Society 5.0. This is a very interesting proposal, but it raises some concern, at least for me, because I do research on ethics on AI, ethics, not only AI, but ethics on disruptive technology, everything that's like shaping the future, everything that's happening now in the market, and that's shaping the future is a point of observation from my perspective and also from my magazine. I founded a 25th Century magazine that's totally focused on discuss this topics and issues regarding artificial intelligence. So when I got in contact with this topic, Society 5.0, which is based on a data-driven society that uses data to not only control us, but also to deliver new solutions based on data, right? So yeah, why I think this is very important. It is bad or not? It is good or not? This is my question. I'm not like against technology. I love technology. I like technology. I think technology can be a solution for different problems regarding humanity. But also it raises concern because technology, as far as I saw, it's becoming a source of power and income concentration. That's my point. Because when I just observe social media, I observe everything that's been done right now on rhetoric. I'm also I do research in rhetoric and AI, in artificial intelligence and social media, digital communication. As I see now, technology, for example, social media and other types of technology that involves communication and rhetoric, it's no longer only about business. It is about power. This is about power now, right? It started as a business when Facebook and Twitter and other platforms, they started as a business 2 decades ago, right? Just to deliver optimized or more accurate advertising, but that became another thing. Now this is about rhetoric. This is about how those social media became a source of power, because who uses that? Who is using the social media now? That's the point. We have to address this ethical concerns and conversation about who is using this technology, right? And also when we discuss this society 5.0, we have to address these issues accordingly with an ethical framework, because again, it can be amazing. The book, the first chapter of this book, what is Society 5.0? The proposal here is like a brave new world, right? It's like a utopia that's saying the technology will solve all the problems, the technology will reduce poverty, the technology will make us happy, right? We have to be, how can I say that? We have to be careful with that, because industrial revolution is promising happiness since the beginning, right? My concern is who is controlling, who will be behind that, behind the scenes of Society 5.0. What are the intentions? What are the intentions behind that? Because who controls the technology? Technology is expensive. Who can afford that? We can't afford technology, right? Especially when we think about artificial intelligence, those big corporations, Facebook, the big FANGs, they invested a lot of money to develop their algorithms and to develop their platform, and now they are still looking for return on investment. That's the point, right? My concern on this ethical framework, on the proposal doesn't include an ethical framework here. I don't see that. I saw the table of content of this book. I see nothing about ethics, right? That's the point. We have to talk about ethics. If we want to transform the society into a society 5.0, according to this article, we have to talk about ethics. Otherwise, we're gonna fail. We're gonna fail this model. We have to talk about social justice. We have to talk about the power balance, because as according to my perspective, I don't see power balance. Who are the guys that are controlling, especially the big FANGs? Amazon, Google, Facebook, they have everything about us. They know more about us than us, right? What happened with you if you turn off Google, if you stop using Gmail, if you stop using Google Drive, if you stop using all the services, who are you after that? That's the point. So we don't have this power. We are delivering data, providing data all the time. And what is the benefit for us? What is the value for us? The service? Okay, the service is good, but what is the cost? The cost is so high. And we are not in a society 5.0. If we get there, according to this proposal in the chapter 1, the whole book, we have to think about where we will go, where we will be there. How this society 5.0 will deliver value to us in terms of social justice, because if we don't create, I'm not talking about regulation, but if you don't create an ethical framework to help to build the society 5.0, I think this is inevitable. It will happen, but the ethics is always behind. That's what bothers me. The ethics is always behind. The market is ahead, and the ethics is always behind. We are just trying to run to fix things, but the ethics should be the center of this proposal about Society 5.0. The proposal is about creating a human-centric, a people-centric, super smart society, but I don't see this discussion on the power balance, the income concentration. I don't see also explanation on how it will balance the power, how will put the people in the center of this society 5.0. If we replicate the same model that we are doing now, based on the capitalist model, based on return on investment, based on return on investment at any cost. Again, we're gonna fail. We're gonna fail. We are seeing what happened with social media. Social media, the threatening to democracies, the spread of disinformation, misinformation, disinformation, everything that's not good, right? That's why, because the big fangs or the social media became a profitable thing, a profitable business that's like based on everything. That's not only based on the truth, that's based on the disinformation, misinformation, everything, or conspiracy theories. Everything is profitable, right? What make me worried is how this society 5.0 will prevent these bad outcomes, the drawbacks on the technology. That's the question, because who can afford that? Only big investors are just creating technology. Universities, they have also budget to create and research technologies, but sometimes I see also universities behind. The market is ahead, universities are behind. I don't see universities creating something big like Facebook and Amazon, the big corporations that are now shaping the way we perceive realities, right? I see people, they base everything, all the discourse, everything they say based on WhatsApp or based on Facebook, based on Instagram, but they don't like take a book. They don't like use respectable article from a respectable university. Everything's about like superficial analysis of reality. Does it happen? Can it happen with Society 5.0? Maybe, or it can be even worse, because the Society 5.0 is based on data-driven. The proposal is based on a data-driven society. And there is, I'm not sure about my time, but let me finish my presentation here with one phrase that I read in this article. Let me see here. The information, but does this not happen already? The difference is that in Society 5.0, the resulting information will not just guide the operation of an air conditioner, generator, or railway. It will directly shape our actions and shape our behavior. Direct our actions and shape our behaviors. This is scary. I'm not scared about, for example, robots like Skynet, the Terminator. I'm not scared about it because I think that won't happen, because the human being is still on control. What scares me is that it will directly shape our actions and behavior, which means manipulation through digital rhetoric. Manipulation through digital rhetoric according to intentions. And what are the intentions? Or who has the intentions? That's the point. That's my big concern. And again, we need to talk more about ethics in the context of Society 5.0. Again, we can't avoid that. It will happen. It's coming. But if you don't take this in consideration, we're gonna fail this model, and we bring new problems, new challenges to society instead of benefits.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mitterson, for your words. I'll have some remarks about that reminded me my work back at UNESCO, but we can talk about that later. Let's continue with Mr. Kelly Park. Welcome.
Well, it's great to be here. I've been to Brazil a few times, and Sao Paulo particularly, and I miss it. I tell you, the pandemic really threw a monkey wrench into things. So it's really nice to see everybody here and be here. And I'm going to just concentrate on a few areas. I won't use all my time today because I'd rather have more dialogue and concentration, but I'm going to bring up a couple of thoughts and ideas I'd like to share with you. And one of them things I'll share with you, by the way, so I started my journey with AI about 7 years ago. I was head of a design team that was charged with building the world's first cognitive tutor. And there was a group at Stanford doing the same sort of thing. So we sort of shared some ideas and notes on it. But I learned a lot along the way, not only about the technology of how to do this, but all the challenges, including ethics, as I'm glad my previous colleague brought up. That was a huge concern. I'm going to, when we talk about things, this is the current article or the current issue, it's kind of backwards on the screen, forgive me, but from the Harvard Business Review on reskilling in the age of AI. And it really talks about the issue we're going to have with education because AI, as the pace has become so rapid that the skills we're learning now have a shelf life of 5 years. And in some cases in the technology world, and to quote the article here, 2.5 years is the shelf life for a skill that's learned. So you have to build the reskilling into the organization. That's going to be super important. Now, the reskilling, you think it would be the sort of responsibility of the education system, the universities, colleges, and so forth to train students. But there, in itself, we need a massive transformation in the way we teach people because we're not set up to have the turnover so quick. We relied on IQ as a measure of intelligence. Then we interpreted more EQ, emotional intelligence, emotional quotient. I'm suggesting that what we really have to look at is AQ or adaptability. Now, that's one thing that we don't talk about enough in education, but that has to be cornerstone, especially in this age of AI, the adaptability quotient. As a matter of fact, I had this discussion. I'm teaching a master's program right now in creativity at the Schulich School of Business in Toronto. And we had a discussion last night in class about this. Some of the people that were joining the class were from HR, and they had no way of trying to be able to pick people out and join people together on their traits and skills other than what was given to them by the universities, a degree and so forth, like computer science or something else like that. But they really weren't measuring adaptability. And with the evolution and changes in society and in industry happening so quickly, this to me was a natural. It had to be a very, a skill that everyone had to have, the ability to change and develop with new information or new technology because of the rapid change of pace. When I look at the education system, I look at something that's essentially 700 years old. When we look at the Socratic method and lecturing, and it hasn't changed a lot in 700 years. Even the public school education that's only been around for 150 years for the Industrial Revolution, that is locked in stone. The whole system is based on that. So imagine we're trying to have rapid development, we're trying to have adaptability built into the education system when it totally has to be rebuilt. So I think we have to do a lot of thinking, a lot of rebuilding in the education world in order to adapt, in order to get us to Society 5.0. I don't think the education system is nowhere near ready. And I'm not talking about somebody just entering the education system, from kindergarten or senior kindergarten and onward. We're looking at people continuing their education going back. If you're changing every 3 to 5 years as far as your skill set, you really need to have that as a basis of constantly not just reskilling, but new skills that are brought on to you that you need to work with your company. So there's two responsibilities here. There's the education system being reformed, but there also has to be, the thoughts in the company that we're going to have to build in reskilling as part of our organization. So I think that's one of the great things or challenges that AI has brought to the education system is the rapid pace of retraining or reorienting somebody into the world needing these new skills. And I think that's got to be one of our hardest things to do. And in my experience of building the first cognitive tutor, it was apparent that it was like taking a little paddle and trying to turn the Queen Mary, this huge ship. it wasn't going to happen easily and it wasn't going to happen overnight. So I think that's one of the things we wrestle with is how do we reform education within the organization, but also within the universities and colleges in order to meet the changing demands of people having to reskill or change quickly and also have that whole mindset. My class is made up of master's students. So they're, say, 25 to 30 years old generally. I asked people to put up their hands last night of how many people have been in a job more than 2 years, and only 3 people put their hand up. So not only are they rapidly changing companies, changing skills, I think their education system has to model that someone, has to the ability to have the ability to rapid change and to understand what's coming next. And also to play a little bit of strategic forecasting, like look into the future a few years. So it's not just about what's immediate today, but how do we prepare ourselves for 2 years, 3 years? I won't hesitate with 5, that's way too long, but that look into the future in order to have this, what skills will be necessary. So that's just some thoughts I wanted to share with you today about how the challenge ahead, how we're going to have to reform education and build that into each company, the ability to raise the AQ, the adaptability quotient, because everyone in the company needs to do this, not just at the C-suite, not just at middle management, but everyone within the company needs to have that. And I'll leave the rest for questions.
Excellent, Kelly. Very, very interesting comments on what I would call long life learning, let's put it this way. And well, we can continue the discussion later, but first of all, let's give the word to our last speaker. Is he in the room with us, Mr. Arroyos? Yeah. So, Mr. Arnoldo de Hoyos, please, you have the floor.
Aquí estamos. Me tengo que ver un poco lo que estaban presentando, ¿verdad? Well, primero yo concordo con.
Well, number one, I agree with the panelists because this is a important situation. What is the transition process and the evolution that we see? Who has the power of force? You know, this power that organizes everything until we see the power of the values where Society 5.0 is going to. And the other point would be education. I participated in a meeting in Brazil like 5 years ago where experts said the problem of education is that we're using education from the 19th century for children of the 21st century. And a third comment in a meeting in Unicamp regarding the evolution of this process. And someone stated that in reality, the type of education that we had was a type of education. It's a robot education and creates little robots. These are comments that just came to my mind because of what my colleagues addressed. So the subject of our talk today is this process, the transition that we're expecting, going towards Society 5.0. And it's interesting because 2 decades ago, we published a book together with a student regarding a subject that goes from these knowledge society and conscious society, and we have to see what our situation is in the middle of this process. Now, Society 5.0 is a society basically based on a human-centric society. So it's focused on humans. This is interesting because this changes the entire view that we have and looks for other skills to develop this process. Here we have the secretary of this group. Here you can see her. She's in Japan, and she clearly explains how she sees this process. Here you can see how this percentage increases. Japan is considered the country that has the highest IQ, and it faces a complicated situation that is the diminishment of the population. This is a radical drop in their population. This is something that we have been seeing for some time. The first time I went to Japan, I was astonished to see how many places that were kindergartens were empty, and they were used for something else. They used it for some other social, and it is clearly that they're undergoing a very important transition that is part of this moment because of the dropping numbers in society. And here you can see the evolution process. This is the super smart society. Now, Industry 4.0 transitioned in terms of technology. Here you can see a few of them, and this has affected the entire transition process that we're undergoing, and we have to analyze how to leverage this process, and because we don't want people to be excluded. We want the other way around. We want to include more people inside this transition in this Society 5.0. Here you can see that the new business models, well, here you can see that they use, you can't see it very much, they use number of elements. These are new values that are at stake now. When you have more time, you can read this process in detail, but here we have the new business models. Next slide. How service platforms are so important for this new society. Here we can see a great number of platforms and areas. Here we have manufacturing systems. Here we have environmental platforms. These platforms are part of our evolutions, and in terms of technology, that will be extremely useful. Now, regarding this point, here we have a ranking using the concepts of technology of Society 5.0 described by the people in Japan. And we developed a ranking where we have a number of indicators that would help us to see the situation of the countries. I mean, in what stage they are. Here you can see that the countries that are in upper positions are in upper positions, and other indicators, Spain and Portugal, are very close to these countries. And here you can see that Brazil is slightly below. So here we can see what our current situation is vis-a-vis the other countries. When we think about the ranking of Society 5.0, we already have a ranking that can be followed and monitored. And this shows us the progress and what are the characteristics of the countries that present a more advanced point that would be from 0 to 100. Well, Here we have, these are advanced economies. Mainly the first ones in the ranking are advanced economies that are AVICO. And mostly of these countries are in Europe and in a part of the first world. And we have IBER, that would be Ibero-America. The others, and these are the three groups that have been analyzed. Here we have the advanced economies, we have the Ibero-America group, and the other economies. These are the countries or the groups that we considered in our study. Here we have a map to see the situation of the countries. Here, the dark countries present a higher level and the lighter countries are of lower levels. Here you can see that Europe is in blue, Canada, of course, Chile is in dark blue, Argentina. And it's something that is interesting to highlight here is something that we developed before the ranking of Society 5.0 was a resilience ranking. These are a number of 40 indicators to develop a ranking that would analyze the level of resilience of these countries. It's interesting to see that the first 10 countries in this ranking, the resilience ranking, are the ones that you see here: Finland, Denmark, Switzerland, Sweden, Norway, Iceland, Austria, Germany, Canada, New Zealand. And also when we compare them to the 10 best of the ranking of Society 5.0, there are correlations here. Now, something that is interesting to consider here is that here we marked in bold. Here in bold, you can see the countries where the head of state is a woman. So you can see, so why is this so important and interesting? Here you can see, when we think about resilience, 6 out of 10 countries are led by women. So these women are heads of states. Or they can be presidents or prime ministers. And 200 and something countries that, or 240 countries used in the study, 16% had women as head of state, of 16% to 60%. So what does this mean? It means there is a special value within women that is connected to the empathy, and therefore this virtue, their position, their stance, allows countries to evolve better and more rapidly. Here in Society 5.0, it's Finland, Germany, and New Zealand that have women as leaders. And on this side, this is interesting to see because here we've also used a number of important indicators. Here we have, you can see the relationship with other indicators. World Happiness Indicator, WHI. You have the GCI, GW1, and Society 5.0. So when you see the relation between the indicator of Society 5.0 is higher. When we think about the resiliency indicator, and the other one is the global conscious indicator, this shows us what is present within this indicator. And this is the Society 5.0 indicator that we developed, and what can we do in order to develop this, and how can this help other indicators like the global wellness indicator or world happiness indicator. In the map, you can see the correlation amongst all of them. The one that is least correlated is the last one. Well, it would be the world happiness indicator. The world happiness indicator is here. It's not the one that brings happiness. This table shows us how advanced economies, which here we 78 is practically twice as much as IBER and 3 times more than the other countries. And this is the average. Here, we made a comment on this. And it means that these other countries need to make a greater effort. Brazil should recover the 3 basic principles: love as a principle, order as a basis, and progress as an end. We know the flag was cut for some reason, but this is a group that is trying to recover the principles in Brazil. And it's interesting because we have someone that properly represents us. So, Angela, here we have a t-shirt that shows us the right pathway. These aren't things that take place by chance. So these synchronicities in life allows things to manifest themselves.
And here once again, we have the interpersonal relationship, addressing awareness and synchronicity. I am author of a book addressing synchronicity, which is highly related to awareness, level of awareness. And we have to consider this very special dynamic, which allows that our level of awareness to be connected to events that might take place around, and they work as a sign to tell us that we are improving our level of awareness. At our university in São Paulo, we have a professor that will be paying a homage to Professor Ivani. Professor Ivani is the one that managed to improve education at our academy. And this celebration will take place this coming Thursday. And still along the synchronicity lines.
We're a bit short of time. I guess we have still 15 minutes. I don't know if you could wrap it up. We can pass to debate a little bit. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay, we are almost close. Bom, só para falar dessa sincronicidade, curiosamente, ao mesmo tempo que
so still along the synchronicity, yesterday, while we were having this event with Lucia, a book was being released about this same very topic. This is the book, Way to Heart, and it was released yesterday. I'm about to close. There are some ideas and innovations that can help us to take a different look at the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arnoldo. Jean-Baptiste, how timing? How long does it? Do we have how many minutes? Do we have some time for debate?
Yes, temos 15.
Yes, we have 10 to 15 minutes for a Q&A.
I would have some questions, but I prefer waiting.
Eu tenho algumas perguntas também, mas eu prefiro aguardar. Recebemos alguma pergunta pelo chat? Ou não?
Não temos perguntas para
No questions so far. But we have questions from our audience. Can I throw them?
Boa tarde, me chamo
Hello, good afternoon. I am a PhD student at this university. Thank you for your contributions. And I have a comment. Professor Maya addressed some ethical aspects as being key to our society. I agree, but conversely, there is a set of goodwills that not necessarily will become effective. And I strongly believe that we as a society, we have to break this barrier. Anything regarding regulatory aspects, and somehow we have to implement sort of guardrails that will impose more strictness in data management, platforms, and AI. And I have a question I address to Mr. Lemos, and you may address to whom you believe it's the question to. And the question is, how can we face some dilemma addressing regional or national regulatory scope, take into account some organizations that are not even present at some of these countries?
Thank you very much. Very interesting question. One I keep asking myself, actually. I don't know. Do we? Our speakers need me to? You could understand the question. The translation, it worked well. Yeah. So I can give you, if you want, each one of the speakers opportunity to ask that in the same order. So let's start, Mr. Mitterson, if you would like to make some remarks on that.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear.
Yeah. Let me switch to Portuguese. Because
no problem.
Address this question. Sorry, qual o seu nome? Desculpa.
What's your name again? The person who asked the question.
Luiz Eduardo.
Oh, Luiz Eduardo. Luiz Eduardo. Obrigado pela pergunta.
Thank you, Edward, for your question. Could you reframe your question? I couldn't quite get when you mentioned the transnational organizations. Which one did you have in mind? I'm talking about platforms. We have some examples here in Brazil where we even find hard to find some legal representatives of some of those platforms. But not only because that may also be replicated to some other organizations. Could you then please reframe your question, if you don't mind. What is your opinion as how we could manage and deal with the dilemma, which is the boundary between regional or national legislations in face of a challenge like that, where we might not even have international organizations present at some other countries? Okay, thanks for your question. I got that. I believe that platforms such as Google, Facebook, all those large platforms, they are North American platforms with operations in the US. Therefore, they have to comply with the American legislations. But in my opinion, if a platform lands in a country like Brazil or any other, our national sovereignty should be respected. There is a case from Google, which I had the testimony. It was a law that they were trying to be submitted, to be approved at the Congress. Regardless if it's a matter of being a good or a bad new regulation, and I don't care about that, but Google has not respected the way they carried out the debate. Somehow they had manipulated people who were part of that framework. Exactly what I have mentioned in my talk. In a 5.0 society, it will directly shape your actions and behaviors. That is a fact already. And I believe that platforms, they have to be respectful, regardless of being located in Africa, France, or Brazil. The regulatory framework must be respected to prevent abuses, any sort of abuses. Platforms, they are business, they are companies listed in the stock exchange. They have to, give a return to their shareholders, but in my opinion, we should set some restraints. Otherwise, we are going to be affected by this capital mindset. I'm not here to advocate or to go against bureaucracy or capitalism, but rather to think about fair actions. And capital tends somehow to invade others' areas because investors, they play a very important role and they ask for ROI. And I believe that misinformation and malinformation is an issue, not a regulation that will totally stop or put a halt in their business. I'm not an enemy of those platforms. They have a lot to offer to the society as a whole. But I don't see an effective and fair use of that. This is my my 5 cents. And this is what I really get so annoyed with the large platforms. In my opinion, they do not respect some limits which should be respected. Thank you, Mederson. Do we have time to allow a second question, or should we let our panelists to stop answering their first question if they prefer? No, we still have a few minutes left. Okay, let's get the questions and then we can hand over to Kelly. Thank you. My name is Andrea. I have a question my question goes to Kelly because it's a topic related to his talk. power concentration and asymmetry, economic power, that the system works to any investors or anyone who's got a pension fund at the Wall Street market. We depend on that system, regardless of having this economic power symmetry or expectation to reach a effective ROI after huge investment by R&D departments. There is today an asymmetry in the knowledge power, which might be more controversial in the future than economic power. So such asymmetry addressing the power of knowledge is so worrisome to the academic community. And you, Kelly, which projects do you see in the US, Canada, Korea, you name it? Which are those projects that effectively are considering raise scale or upscale for providers who will be really skilled to balance that asymmetry?
Yeah, I think it's all, you're right, it's about balance. But I think what's interesting, what will happen, the biggest projects we're working on right now is where we're bringing artificial intelligent agents inside of an organization almost as an employee. So it's interesting, we've got to the point where we're even considering having certain board members being artificial on systems. So it's going to be very, very interesting how we sort of play that. It really is a power balance, but I'm not sure how we're going to address that. I mean, as far as economically, and also, you know, knowledge really is power, and who owns that particular knowledge? I think there hasn't been new knowledge for a long, long time. I think we're just reiterating knowledge anyway. But who controls how the design of things happen, how things roll out, that will be incredibly effective. I think that, for me, is the big essence here. I just also wanted to comment on the last question, if you don't mind, because there was something very important there. We actually have patterns of how regulation will happen in history of like television broadcasting and things like that. So we actually have patterns of how, I don't really like a lot of government interference, but there are things that we can learn from that have happened over the last 80 or so years, and how we manage that part of the television spectrum and signals coming in and out. I think that's something that we sort of have to capitalize on. We almost have to have another CRTC, or Canadian Radio and Television Commission, but for internet. That's going to be very, very tricky how we manage that. There's a lot of groups studying it right now. There's a large consortium right now between the universities in Southern Ontario that it's over $300 million investment in project to try to figure this out. So I haven't got the answers for you on your question, but that's the things that we're researching right now. And look for studies to come out of this consortium based from Kingston, or from Queens, from University of Toronto, and York University right now.
Thank you, Kelly. Very, very good questions. I'm very happy I didn't have to ask any questions, because no similar things I was thinking. We don't have much time, but it's a very interesting topic. Just a quick remark from my part. I was working at the Brazilian delegation to UNESCO before coming to Canada. And the UNESCO has reached an agreement. It's the first ever multilateral agreement on the ethics of the artificial intelligence. But it's a framework, guidelines. So it's up to each country to set up its own rules in respect to that. And how it's going to be, how it's going to evolve, I really don't know. I would like to debate that. I'm afraid we don't have that time. If you want to talk, I'm available with Brazilian Consulate. The colleagues from the FCBB, they have my contact. Please feel free to reach me out. And I'm surely gonna reach out to our speakers later on. Jean-Baptiste, I don't know if we have any time left. If Mr. Arnoldo would like to comment, very quickly on those questions. If not, I leave it up to you. Thank you.
Exato. Se tiver ainda uma pergunta rápida,
If
Okay,
there are further questions, quick further questions, because we're out of time, someone can make a brief remark.
Arnoldo, Mr.
Arnoldo,
Would you have any remarks on what has been said about the questions?
Bom, sim, obrigado por me pedir, porque
Thank you so much for including me in this question. And after talking to Solange and all her proposal, it was so revolutionary, this issue addressing love in her book. I don't know if you, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what he said. And all the comments that he made, which is aligned to your proposal, Solange. He's speaking English now.
The energies of sun and winds, and waves and gravitation, human beings will harness for God. No, harnessing, aprovechando, harnessing the energies of love for God. And for the second time, humans will have discovered fire. Fuego. Ok. Então, só é isso que queria mencionar, da importância.
Well, this is what I wish I could mention, is the importance of this book. We are minds, but before we get our knowledge, we have hearts so we can show our feelings. And we have to make the best use of that. Thank you.
Obrigada.
Well, thank you, Arnoldo. Thanks, everybody. Jean-Baptiste would like to close the panel.
You are on mute, sorry.
Yeah, I was passing on the word to you, asking you if you would like to close the panel now. Say a few words to you. Back to you.
Jean-Baptiste is on mute. He did not realize he's on mute.
Jean tá sem áudio.
Perdão. Falando da tecnologia.
I'm so sorry, I was muted.
Desculpe.
Sorry about that, he says.
Estamos terminando.
So we are closing panel 4, which has addressed 5.0 society challenges. With that, thank you so much, Mr. Alexander, our moderator. Thank you so much. I hope that one day I'll be able to speak English as well as you do. I also would like to thank our speakers for your amazing lectures, and to all of you who had participated on site or remotely, showing all your interest to this topic, which is a very current one. and which is so timely. And with that, we are closing our last panel. Thank you so much to all of you, and mainly to Professor Marcel, who has dedicated himself to prepare it. Thanks again.
Para auditório.
Obrigado, Jean-Baptiste.
Thank you, Jean-Baptiste. First of all, I'd like to thank our participants, our speakers, Professor Kelly Park, Professor Midi Aston, to our ambassador Alexandre Pina for his participation, and all of you who joined us here on site, remotely, Professor Rowells, Karen, Celie, Jenny, and everybody else who has worked for the symposium. I also would like to thank the Toronto Business College and Amber College for the opportunity. Well, before we close it, we have here some names. I hope I don't forget your name, but we'd like to acknowledge all the technical support team, the organizing committee, she's naming all the people that have collaborated, the support given by Luis Felipe for the streaming, the guys from the theater, also the TIDS Secretary, Communication and Design, translation, the translation team from Target, Suzanne, Andrea, Cecilia, Flavia, Isabella, Patricia, Samantha. And yesterday, I also would like to acknowledge Professor Lucia, Fabiana, Rafael, Dominique, Bruno, Diego, and the whole coordination team.
Bruno, Cris, Francisco, Guilherme, Jenny, Paula, Werner. Muito obrigada.
Thank you to all of you, everyone that I have mentioned here. And I hope that we can be together next year in our third edition. Goodbye. Bye-bye. See you.
Thank you, everyone.
E a todos vocês que participaram, né? Que sem vocês o evento não aconteceria. Obrigada.